What's up, folks? Welcome back. And today we're going out to the yard to do some stuff with the colonies. It is second round of treatments. For those of you who aren't in the know, there's a parasite that lives in most bee colonies in the world called the Varroa destructor mite. And basically think of it like a creature that crawls around on you and then like periodically just sticks itself inside and eats part of your liver type thing. It's really, really nasty. So we treat for those with a couple different things, and it really depends on the time of year, but this time of year I use this, and this is a Formic Acid treatment. There are a couple different methods to use it. I use the 20-day treatment, which is basically you come in, you take this pad and you put it down inside the hive, and then you come back 10 days later and you put another one on, and then you're done. There's an alternate treatment that is 14 days, you put 2 pads on. I have a couple colonies that I didn't feel comfortable doing that because it can actually kill some of your colony population. So what we're doing today is, like I said, this is the second round. So what I'll be able to show you is what the bees do to it inside of the colony, and then we'll put the next treatment on there. And as a bonus, we're also going to be one hive is pretty weak. It's not like critically weak, but I want to catch it before it gets critically weak. So I did some stuff last time I was out here, and we're going to feed it. And we'll also get into that colony and look to see if the laying has resumed, because she was not doing that great in laying. And if she is laying a whole bunch now, then we know that we don't need to continue to feed her, because that simulated nectar flow can stimulate a whole lot of laying, and we want to get that population up before some of the flowers come back out after the dearth. But anyway, let's go to the yard. So cracking her open. It is an overcast day, so it's probably going to be very bad for beekeeping, but good for filming. So here we go. So what we have on top here is a feed box, and I filled in a whole bunch of space here with empty frames, just to give them the space for the feeder, but not a whole bunch of extra space that they feel like they got to defend. So I've also this box didn't fit very well, so it's all taped together. So I gotta untape the box, which is great. I found a way in anyway. So go ahead and break this feeder box off. We'll just set it right down here. There shouldn't be really any bees in there. Feeder, we'll come back to this later in the video. And our population looks good, looks real good. Yeah, I'm gonna call that successful. Now, because it's so populous, we're gonna take this feeder off, set it aside, and I just wanna check to make sure that the queen isn't on the underside of this, which can happen. Doesn't look like she is. So, yeah, this colony's packed. It's good. It's real good. So I just want to kind of see if there's any kind of laying going on, and I would guess that laying would be going on underneath. So what we're going to do is, instead of going through this box, we're just going to skip straight to the bottom, and that's kind of the subject anyway of the video. Although they have glued this together, I can feel it. So we need to go through here and break loose these frames so that we can actually take it off, because just because I got the outer box separated doesn't mean that each of these individual panels isn't glued to the one below it. And that causes a big problem. So all of these I can feel are basically one with the one below them. And that's not ideal. So break it off both sides, and then we should be able to just spin this box off after we break these apart. Hopefully, anyway. They're getting more and more angry. All right, so now this box should, in theory anyway, the whole thing's moving. Oh, that's heavy. And there you have our mite treatment. What they've done is they encapsulate it to kind of keep it separated from the rest of the hive. There you go. We'll put a new one on here in a minute. I just need to find some kind of evidence of that the queen is still here and still amongst the living. That is full of nectar. You know what? Last time I was here, I saw her in the top anyway. So I'm just going to set this down because I think I might see a little bit of activity right here. And this will give me an opportunity to rile them up a little bit so you guys can see. Yeah, there we go. We have some brood on this one. And it is female brood, so that's what we're looking for. All right, cool. Excellent. So now that they're nice and riled up, show you what happens when we bring this into the equation. They really don't like this stuff. And to be honest, I don't really like it either. Especially this batch seems like it's been problematic with this wax paper. It's just been really hard to work with. I just kind of do this and they will avoid it. They don't like it. So set it right like that. And then the box goes right back on top. Right like it was. And depending, you may start to see them volcano out of the top here a little bit. I'd like to see some fresh eggs. If we can see some fresh eggs, I feel really good about this. More brood. Yeah, that laying pattern is considerably better than it was. So, well, that isn't fresh eggs. It is an improvement. Actually, while I got this out, since I don't see her on there, we're just gonna do that. See? Pattern's better. And what I'm gonna do real quick is just use that while that frame is out. I wanna search for some eggs just to see if she's still there. And if I don't see any in a couple frames, then we'll just, yeah, there's fresh larvae on this one. Yeah, we don't need fresh eggs because we got fresh larvae. I'll call that good. She's been here in the last couple days, so she's likely still alive. All right, let's put this back together. The back's starting to hurt me already. All right, guys, go back in. Come on. Come on. Hey, let's go back in there. Come on. Yeah, see, they really don't want anything to do with that formic acid, but I got to get this other box back on there, and I don't want to crush a whole bunch of them. Because they're not making this easy. All right, there we go. There's that. I'll go ahead and put this back on. Feed box. We're gonna give them one more round of feed. And so to feed them, I use these jar feeders. And these are designed to go on the outside. It's always a really bad idea to externally feed. And that treatment is complete. I'll come back and tape all those holes up again, and it's treated. Hey folks, there at the end, that whole feeding segment kind of went sideways because the camera was oriented a particular way, and you can't really adjust anything once you get started because you would have to take your gloves off, and that particular day it was not an option to take gloves off because everything is just caked in this like gack, and anything that you touch is going to get covered in it. You should see like the door handles of my truck. I'm going to have the thing detailed because it's just bad. But anyway, I wanted to show you guys kind of like what this thing is all about. Basically a jar goes in there, and there's a hole in there, and there's enough space in there for a couple bees to get in, and as it drips, they drink it, and then they can use that. Typically, I like to feed to help them build comb, but this time of year, we're in the dearth pretty heavy, and when that happens, the queen kind of quits laying, and it can lead to population decline. Well, we know for a fact that there's going to be some species that come out here in a couple weeks that we want them to be able to capitalize on for winter stores. So we want those populations to be at the height so they can be out there and collecting it. Remember, bees only live about 6 weeks anyway, so after that, we allow that population to decline, and they'll have all those stores, and we don't have to worry as much about their winter stores. So that's kind of why that's going on, but sorry for the camera work. It is what it is. But the way that this stuff works basically is you have to have 85 degrees or colder days for the first 4 days of the treatment, and that keeps the vaporization level of the formic acid low enough that, well, it will still penetrate the cappings to kill any of the Varroa mites that are laid in the actual larval cells of the bees as they develop, but it won't increase the concentration to such a degree that it will kill your brood, the actual bees. So toxicity for the smallest creatures in the colony, the parasites, the mites, but not the actual bees themselves. And it's actually interesting. It used to be thought that you couldn't treat with formic acid with any like honey stores on there or anything like that. The FDA has actually approved formic acid treatments for honey that is even going to be sold. Now, we don't do that, but their winter stores doesn't really matter. And formic acid is already a component of honey anyway, so that's one of the reasons that it's used in this particular capacity, because it is biologically already present. The bees tolerate it really well, and it kills mites dead. It's basically a nuclear weapon. We do another treatment in the winter time, and when that comes around, I'll go ahead and do a video on that one as well, but it's a little bit more intensive than what you saw there. This is pretty easy. You basically open the thing up, put the pad on, come back, 10 days later, put another one on. Of course, gaming it for weather and all that sort of stuff. The one in the winter time is more like creating a gas chamber. It's pretty crazy, but But as far as this is concerned, we don't test for mites. We just treat for mites because we know that they're there. And when my bee inspector for the county comes out, he always reports that we have really low mite counts. So we haven't had any mite-driven losses in the wintertime. So we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. So that's how we do things. And specifically, I published this video because one of my friends in the firearms industry is also keeping bees, and this is their first year. So I kind of wanted to give a little bit more detailed look at what it is that we're doing to keep those mite levels low. I believe that they're located a little bit farther south than us. I would have to check their latitude to see exactly where they end up, but they most certainly have the same problem. And the bees pick these things up from flowers. They are endemic now, so like if you've got a bee colony, it probably comes with a certain load of mites in it, and you just want to keep them as low as possible, continuously combat them. Not only do they kill the bees through attrition, but they also will carry various diseases that can be transmitted that can be really, really bad and really, really nasty and can cause you to lose your entire hive. So there's like the direct and indirect, impacts, and we want to keep those as low as possible. Our job as beekeepers is to manage the distributed diseases that ultimately kill every single bee colony that's out there and extend the life and allow them to proliferate. Like if you have a wild bee colony that you found in a tree somewhere, that colony's days are numbered. They may be very good at managing their mites and diseases, but eventually some kind of distributed disease is going to kill that colony in its natural environment. It's just a matter of time. Again, our job is to gather some of the genetics of those colonies and perpetuate it into the next couple generations so that our biodiversity is maintained. Anyway, off my soapbox. Thanks for watching. Bye.